6255 1206. Time to catch up with One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. Good morning, Pauline.
Good morning, Stephen.
I guess the news dominating is obviously this attempted shooting of Donald Trump. You've talked about the media's role in that. So very similar to what Hazan was just saying.
Exactly right. It is the media. Over the years, the media, and I've seen a big change in them since I first went in Parliament in 1996. A big change with their being biased in their reporting. They're lazy. They don't do the research, and biased towards one way of political party or another. Over the years, I've actually had reports done on me. Just after I was elected to Parliament in 1996, March 1996, I did an interview with The Australian. Anyway, during that interview, I made a comment calling for equality for all Australians. Anyway, he put the front page of the newspaper on Monday. It was the 5th. It would have been the 5th of March 1996. Hanson won't represent Aboriginal people. Well, I was furious about it. Anyway, I was treated like that by elders when I was set up to one meeting that I went to, and that was the perception. So anyway, finally, not me, but I was taken to the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity, which was thrown out. Then it went to court. In the court case of October 1997, the judge, Sir Ronald Wilson, asked for that to be, the tape to be placed in his hands. He listened to the whole tape. His finding was that I didn't say that, and I was found not guilty. A very small retraction was put into the back of the Australian newspaper. Yet again, in the 60th anniversary, they made the same comments. In one of the journalists, the editors, actually made a comment of the same thing, that I wouldn't represent Aboriginal people. So I've had to face that perception by the Aboriginal people all these years. And even Grant, I can't think of his name, the fellow who left the ABC, he was doing an interview with me and he raised it that I wouldn't represent them. So you see the lies. Even one journalist put an article with me about an election time, and I turned and I said to her when I saw the paper next month, I said, you know that's not the truth, that didn't happen. She said, I'm sorry, that's not my words. It was changed by the editor-in-chief.
Well, Pauline, it's interesting.
This happens all the time.
It's interesting you say that, because I've said this about you to a number of people, is that anybody can take a 30-second soundbite. And look, professional politicians are taught to speak in sound bites. You don't come from a political background, so you speak like a normal person. I can grab 30 seconds out of this interview and edit it to make it sound like anything. But I've always said, if you give Pauline the time to, let her breathe, is the terminology I use, you actually find out what she's really saying. And you and I might not agree on everything, but we can have a discussion about it and actually air some issues here. But if you're bound by those sound bites, which is unfortunately what we seem to be dominated by these days, it paints a whole different picture. It's
clickbait, and that's all they're after. They're lazy journalists out there that don't do the research. And this is what I say to you, and I went to the university and I actually lectured the university students on media a couple of times. And I said, you can make or break us. And I said, you can either I could be walking down the street where someone might want to give me a hug or someone might want to slap me in the mouth.
Yeah.
Do you know, I had federal security because of all this rubbish that the media did to me years ago. I had federal security with me 24/7 for 18 months. I couldn't go anywhere without 3 police officers with me most of the time for that period of time. So my life was pretty much hell, and a threat was made against my daughter. And the same thing with Trump, it's false charges laid against me. My father said to me, politics is a dirty game, which it is. And this is where people have to, be allowed to see things and not be controlled by what they see or hear. And the media needs to be reined in how they put out a perception about someone.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think, I think we all as individuals need to take a bit of responsibility for taking the heat out of the situation at the moment. And hopefully this is a bit of a wake-up call. Pauline, always good to talk to you. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, Stephen. Bye.
Pauline Hanson, One Nation leader, back with us next week on the program. Let's have a look at what's happening in North America.
On 2CC Breakfast with Stephen Cenatiempo.